You gotta hear that.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome back to the Issues Program, post episode, recap, follow ups, reviews, issues I have with episodes, whatever you want to call this crap. Thank you, everybody that's been checking out the Walking Dead recaps. I'm overwhelmed by the support and the negative energy and positive energy. I accept it both. Thank you. And it's inspired me to want to get out here and talk about more television shows I watch. Maybe not all of them right after the episode's over because I watch with other people and they're like, I don't want you to take notes during everything. But I'm going to start talking about all sorts of issues with different television shows I have and different problems I have. And bring some other people in here, but there's certain shows that no one else wants to talk about but me. Or not every single time. So this is one of those cases where I am going to do a post-episode recap of How I Met Your Mother, the second to last episode, the penultimate episode of How I Met Your Mother. It's called Down the Aisle or something like that. I have it written on the video above. You can see that. Episode 9, episode 11, season 9 of How I Met Your Mother. Now, first off, I feel like I have to address season 9 as a whole. Now, and I feel like this episode did at a certain point in time. There was one line that old Ted, or I think it was young Ted, said that he can't believe how long this weekend has taken. Yes, in fact, this weekend, this wedding for Barney and Robin has been a whole season wedding. It took all 11 episodes to lead us up to the point where they're married. And this shows... I'm not saying How I Met Your Mother hasn't been entertaining this year. I find it very entertaining. I've been watching it since the beginning of season 1, following it all the way through. I think it's had some peaks and some valleys. I think it reached a peak around the end of season 2, and then season 3 and 4 were kind of transitional seasons that lost their way a little bit. And then I think the show kind of found new legs in season 5, 6, and 7, and 8. I think were very, very good. I'd have to look back specifically to say which ones of those seasons were better than others, but I feel like the show changed over from being more of a serious dramedy to being kind of a slapstick comedy, featuring more like the Neil Patrick Harris and Jason Segel show at times. And I feel like Season 8 has attempted to go... Season 9, what we're on right now, has attempted to go back at times to the original Season 1 and 2 vibe. Again, this episode was another episode, and along with the last couple that have felt very much reminiscent of early How I Met Your Mother. It feels like they're trying to capture that in a bottle a little bit, and they've done it to different degrees of success. I think everything that they've done this season with Ted and the Mother has been extremely successful. I feel like, and even this episode pointed out the obvious, that I feel like for many seasons, and even more, even though they did have a storyline, they finished up the Marshall and Lily thing really quick, and there isn't much you could really do with Marshall and Lily post them having a baby. And I feel with the Robin and Barney stuff, that was stretched out a little bit. It could have been wrapped up. Essentially, I feel like I need to be obvious about some of the... I look into this crap. How I Met Your Mother was originally only supposed to be a 7-season show. Bays and Carter talked about it a lot at the very beginning, how they had a 7-season story arc. And they've stretched this story from 7 seasons to 9. I feel like last season didn't feel stretched out, but I feel like this season definitely feels stretched out. They could have added 6 more episodes onto last season and had it just end last season. Somehow squeeze 6 episodes in, and it could have been done. They took a lot of time off last year, if I remember correctly. Weeks that there were no episodes of How I Met Your Mother. And I feel like everything that was done in this season could have been squished down. That being said, there's a lot of really great episodes, really funny stuff, and this season's definitely been more of a focus on Ted again, which is refreshing considering kind of post-season 4 it's been the Barney show. And that story kind of wrapped up last year with Barney. We're finding out that Barney and Robin were getting married. I never thought for a second all the Ted and Robin teases we got this year meant crap. I kind of always knew. You do know. I'm not one of these fools, and I'm sorry if I'm calling you a fool right now. I'm not one of these fools that assumes that Ted and Robin end up together. There's people out there that still argue that. And I feel like what this episode was meant for was for you guys. This episode was meant to kind of put that all to rest, put it all to bed. Any of the people that are like, oh, wait, Bubba dibba dibba dibba. Robin and Ted zibbity dubba. No. Robin and Ted no zibbity dubba. Whether or not the mother dies or not, which is something I didn't want to believe at first, but the more time goes on, the more it's looking kind of it's leading you into that direction a little bit, that something bad happens in this last episode. I don't think Robin and Ted end up together. I think it's safe to say that last night's episode closed that off. It closed off the fact that Robin and Barney are going to be together, and that's a thing. It's a thing, guys. I know you've been refuting this for a long time, you Ted and Robin apologists, and you people that make up all these reasons why Ted and Robin are supposed to be together. No. No, 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 no's. So this season I do feel like has had some very interesting, very emotional moments. It feels like the end. But last year felt like the end too, and I felt like it was a better culmination of everything. And I feel like, in a sense, story-wise, they shot their wad a little bit, and then they were faced where, okay, we got 12 more episodes to do. What do we do here? Do we? Oh well. And then some guy's like, I got an idea. Why don't we have all 12 episodes, or 11 of the 12 episodes, be all in the weekend of Barney and Robin's wedding? Sure, that's a great idea. I feel like we could have gotten a little bit more mother backstory. I really enjoyed her episode when we got to see what led her up to the place. I feel like we could have got a little bit even more of that. That could have lasted for a while when we got the flashes to see where she was in the moments that Ted almost bumped into her and how she was associating with our heroes, so to speak. But I do feel like season 9 warranted enough entertainment value that I'm glad that it happened. Maybe if season 8 it had ended like that, I might have felt like it was a little bit rushed, especially if they had tried to take what was 12 episodes and squished it down to 4 or something like that. I feel like it probably could have been 6 to 8 episodes at a good quality, and that would have been ideal. I don't know. It's hard to see, because in certain shows like Breaking Bad, for instance, that I talk about, it's very specific to a storyline, and I know AMC really wanted them to keep going and write another season and put off what was inevitably going to happen one more season. And Vince Gilligan's like, no way, I got a story, we need to stay true to it. It's obviously more important in a show like Breaking Bad that's more of a drama and has more deep arching storylines. But I think How I Met Your Mother's differentiated itself from other sitcoms for me because it does have that depth. It has that world that makes perfect sense. And I don't think they did anything to poo-poo that this season, but I do feel like they stretched it thin. They put their soldiers a little thin over what was to be just the basic idea of just Robin and Barney getting married. I feel like maybe they could have added some more stuff, put off the Marshall Judge thing and extended a few more episodes and have Barney and Robin get married later on in the season, have a little bit more lead up for the wedding. Whatever. I'm playing backseat quarterback in a little bit. Armchair quarterbacking, backseat quarterbacking, whatever your chosen expression is. But I am here specifically to talk about last night's episode. Or not. I mean, this is really a sum up. I haven't done post-episode recaps of How I Met Your Mother. The closest thing I did was a podcast where I talked about How I Met Your Mother for long extended periods of time, but I haven't really sat down and analyzed it, and you guys don't really know where I'm coming from with my How I Met Your Mother fandom, so I feel like I need to get all of this out before I talk specifically about this episode leading us into the finale, which I will do a post-episode recap on the finale as well. And we'll talk a little bit more later about what else is coming in the future on the post-episode issues, recap thingies, whatever, and what else is coming for How I Met Your Mother. I might be bringing in a guest to do the podcast with me. We'll see about that. I'll keep you posted on that. So I move on, and here we go. So finally we get the wedding. And I think it's important. I'm just going to go down some bullet notes from the episode and go in a couple of little rants, because we can take the episode from beginning to end, but that's not necessarily how I took notes. It essentially is just the pre-jitters before the wedding, the storyline of the episode. We see connecting from last year when Ted gets called to talk to the wife, and he comes in and talks to Robin, and Robin starts freaking out about the wedding, that she's not ready, she's having cold feet, but it's more than cold feet, she just doesn't trust Barney, she doesn't think he could really be a husband, what the hell am I doing? Maybe she should have thrown in a couple of lines about how she said she never thought she was would be married and never thought that this was the type of thing she wanted, but we seem to ignore the fact that that's what Robin used to be, and we're in this new Robin now. Robin 2.0, that's this over-emotional kind of broken down person, which I understand that they were trying to lead up that the other Robin was kind of a facade, but to me it seems sloppy-ish. I kind of like Robin, season 1, 2 Robin, with all the dogs, real tough as nails kind of chick. I feel like later seasons Robin have played with some of Colby's strengths as an actress, excuse me, but in a way has kind of made her seem a little less strong. And I think in an era where that show, compared to some other shows, has good, strong female leads, I think Allison Hannigan does a great job adding a lot of power to Lily, and I think early on Robin did the same thing, or Colby Smuthers did the same thing with Robin, creating an extreme element of strength with her. But I feel like in recent seasons they kind of, if there's one character they write all over the place on How I Met Your Mother, it's Robin. Robin changes from moment to moment. She's the one that we kind of know the least. And I know a lot of that stuff gets explained by saying, oh, this is Future's Ted's perspective of it all. That's a little convenient. It's a little convenient on How I Met Your Mother's end that they can write a lot of ridiculous things and not necessarily have characters always match up to character types, because it's all a story. It's all a story that Bob Saget's telling us, and we all know how reliable Bob Saget is. So we have our wedding. We finally get the wedding. The ongoing joke of the season, we find out, yes, we do have a ring bear. A bear. There's a ring bear, but it's the cutest little bear in the world. Oh, it's so cute. And then Barney makes a comment about a flower gorilla, and we see good sight gag. We see the handler holding the rope, but we don't actually get to see the gorilla. Great use of technology and theater of the mind. How I Met Your Mother. 2 points for you guys on that one. I enjoyed it. So really this episode, what it did was deal with the end of the Ted and Robin stuff. Ted goes and sees Robin, talks to her. We have her and Ted having their main story, which is dealing with the end of their love, the end of is Robin marrying the right person? Shouldn't she marry someone that would do anything for her, someone that wouldn't lie to her? Thinking about all the things Ted's done for her, and thinking about that locket that she lost, that Barney couldn't find, that Ted has sitting in his pocket because of everything he's went through this season to get it. And then the secondary story is Barney and Marshall and Lily, with Barney and Lily kind of helping Barney write his wedding vows. And he's writing these thick pages of like ridiculous wedding vows. And he turns to Marshall and Lily and says, "Yo, I don't want to take advice from you guys because you've broken every single one of your wedding vows." And we get a couple of flashes to, oh, I thought I would support you, and like 2 minutes after the wedding, Marshall's not supporting Lily and she's just throwing up on the plane all by herself, and he's pretending to be asleep. A couple other things, one with Lily doing something to Marshall, and then another thing about their marriage being broken up because Lily takes dumps all the time. There was a big part of this episode was about Allison Hannigan taking dumps, which is pretty funny. It was funny the way it was manifested. They were talking about how they haven't broken any lies, and they're like, oh, the one thing we didn't break was breakfast in bed. And they flash over to one of them sitting in bed, to Lily sitting in bed, and Marshall dealing with the baby, and her yelling, oh, what about breakfast? And he just throws as fast as he could a bagel that slams against the wall. And she's like, what about cream cheese? And she just splats cream cheese on the wall. She rubs it on the wall and eats it. Great sight gag. What How I Met Your Mother recently has been famous for, all that funny slapsticky type stuff was very evident there. And it was dealing with an important issue about how much do these vows mean. And it connects to something I think, personally, that weddings are kind of bullshitty, that the whole process of it, it's one of those institutions in our country that is a little bit like the things you say you don't really mean. That's not what a relationship's about. A relationship's about, and they deal with it at the end when they give their real vows about, I promise to stop interrupting you, I promise to to, you know, make you a meal. I forget exactly what they say. I might have it written down. But they have some, like, good realistic vows of how people actually have relationships, not wasting most of your fortune on a diamond ring when you should be using that to buy a house or use it as a nest egg for the family for retirement or even for vacation. You know, I'm not against the idea of locking yourself to another individual for life in love and kind of what the whole love isn't clean, love's messy and dirty and it's not always normal, but it's what we got. And I don't think that necessarily associates with marriage all the time. Well, that's a different topic altogether. We don't want to go through that. Let's see. I think we got a comment in the room. Yes, thank you. I like this season too. As I said, I have enjoyed this season a lot. I think its quality has been high, but I feel like the story's stretched thin, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, if you're just tuning in. Thank you for tuning in, buddy. Appreciate your stopping in. So, our How I Met Your Mother podcast continues here and we go, Lily and Marshall are dealing with the wedding vows, not following their vows, and how they are the best couple. We get a couple more lines of Lily Pad and Marshmallow and high fives about how their wedding's the best bitch. You know, the classic Marshall and Lily stuff. And it got me thinking about Jason Segel that I think all of these actors, Neil Patrick Harris will find something. It took him a while last time, but I think he'll find something. And if I ever really want to see Neil Patrick Harris at his best, I'll see him on stage somewhere. And I have a feeling Neil Patrick Harris will always return to television because that's what made him a star. So he'll always be in that medium one way or another. He'll just take a few years off and then come back. Josh Radnor, I care about him, but I don't care about him too much. I know he's going to be a B-level actor, almost similar to what Topher Grace did for a while after that 70s show. I think he'll maybe pop up on one or two movie roles here and there, but for the most part, he will kind of go into obscurity a little bit. This was it for him, and I'm okay with that. He'll do stage as well. Allison Hannigan has had an amazing career, and if she wanted to step away for a while right now, we've gotten a lot from her. And her at her best. The American Pie stuff, if you're into Buffy, her on Buffy, and now this show, and she's obviously been in a lot of other things along the way. And she's been very successful, and I mean, there's a lot of Allison Hannigan out there. Jason Segel, because he's bigger than he was when he started the show, in more ways than one, and he started off his career with the whole Freaks and Geeks thing and doing stuff like that, and then he hooked into movie making, and now whether he'll star in movies or not, he'll keep making movies, and he'll have bit parts in movies, and I think that seems to be more important to him than television. Like, if he didn't have such a great relationship with the cast and the crew of How I Met Your Mother, I feel like he would have forced the issue, and season 7 would have been the last. He was the one that they were like, oh, he agreed to be on for another couple of years. Okay, we're fine. I don't see him doing television again. And seeing him last night with all the puns when he was going on the pun circus and just going, I really feel like I'm going to miss Jason Segel. And I feel like I'm never going to get to see him as much as we saw him in the days of this. Think about it in a way of, I'm not a huge Clooney fan, but if you were a Clooney fan from the time of ER and then you followed his career, once ER ended, you're like, oh, I'm never going to get to see this guy the way that I saw him before because he's going to be a huge movie star. He's never going to come back to TV and really get to see him. That's why I think it's such a treat with shows like House of Cards when you get to see Kevin Spacey on television, where you're like, hey, wait, I like Kevin Spacey in movies. Oh, wow, I get to see him this much on a TV series. And I just, in a funny breakdown comedy type show, when Cheers ended with Woody Harrelson, I mean, I know we get to see him on True Detective now, but it's not the same thing. Not getting to see Woody in a comedy, in like a sitcom-y comedy, because a lot of people might be like, oh, you know, I'm done with sitcoms. I hate it. To me, I grew up with them. I'll always have a special place in my heart for good sitcoms. A good sitcom, whether it be Arrested Development in its way that it is, How I Met Your Mother. I really like The Goldbergs now, Raising Hope, which just got canceled, unfortunately. A show that works as a sitcom for me breaks the rules. It doesn't have to be so literal to characters. It can stretch reality a lot, and I still very much enjoy it. I think How I Met Your Mother is probably the closest, at least when it started out, for a sitcom to be based in a real life world. And even that, it's in a memory of a real life world. But the way the setup was what gave you that depth that you only get in dramas or sci-fi shows sometimes, or now you get in any show that isn't a basic comedy, and everyone goes, "Oh, wait, that doesn't match up," and if you don't do it, everyone gets pissed off. So we deal with, as I mentioned, Bob Saget said something about, or Ted asked, this season lasting forever. We deal with the Locket, as we put it, and that's the basic story. Ted goes to Barney, gives him the Locket, tells him to give it to Robin. Robin calls Ted back in there and goes, "Listen, I know you got this Locket. I know Barney didn't do this. I just have a feeling, and it doesn't make sense. Barney would have come up with a better lie. Would have come, this doesn't. Barney will never be honest. He couldn't even be honest with me about this." Ted's like, "I told him the lie." Well, he should have just told me the truth. That's not what marriage is about. And then she gets into the whole, "Ted, I want to be with you." Or what if I'm supposed to be with you? What if you got that because you loved me? And he's like, "No, no, no." And she's like, "Ted, run off with me. I want to run off with you." And he's like, "I don't want to hear that. Don't say that. I don't love you like that. I thought I did, but now I realize I don't. You love Barney." And I'll get into specifically what he says when I go through my notes. But that's basically the whole gist of the episode. And then her quick switch when she's like, "Run away with me." Okay, don't run away. I'm just running away myself. And she runs away, bumps into the mother. The mother advises her to take 3 deep breaths, that everything can change with 3 deep breaths. And I agree with that to an extent. Because when I'm a waiter or I'm dealing with some serious crap and I'm all pissed off and angry, if I need to calm down, sometimes the best thing you can do is take a few deep breaths and you can focus on a situation completely different. And that's what Robin does. And right at that moment, she bumps into Barney, and Barney's like, "I love you," and tells her the truth and says that I have all these vows, that the crap with all these vows. The damn with the way, I gotta find something to throw. Do these vows, the hell with the vows. The only vow I'm going to give to you is that to promise to always be honest, because that's a lot coming from me. And Marshall and Lily broke all their vows, and I don't want to end up like that, even though they have a great relationship. I don't want to break our vows. And Robin says she appreciates it, and then he tells her about the Locket, that Ted really got it. And Ted, through this whole time, is kind of narrating this. This episode was not as funny as last week. We get a lot of cameos at the wedding. Patrice, Barney's dad, does this, or Barney's brother's dad does the ceremony, and we also get a flash of actually Robin's real husband, who's in the audience, who played I forget the name of the character, but he was the extra guy from last week, who is Colby Smothers' real life husband. We see Ranjit. A couple other people get quick flashes. The mothers, Barney's real dad, Barney's mom, Robin's parents are both at the wedding, which I think is great casting of Robin's mother as Tracy Ullman. I thought that was hilarious. I thought her episode, especially when she was on the plane at the beginning of the episode, was goddamn hilarious. That's why I do like a lot of elements of Season 9. I feel like when it worked. It just spread itself a little thin. I think they've made it a point to make sure that this season was funny again at times and really emotionally guttural when it hits you emotionally. When it emotionally that's a lot of emotion. A lot of emotion, sons and daughters out there. So we also get, as we said, Robin and the mother meeting each other for the first time, bumping into each other. I think this episode, as I said, did a lot of setup and a lot of breaking down to put us in line for the finale. Because even as of a couple of episodes ago, we were still dealing with Robin and Ted stuff. And with Robin getting a look on her face when someone said you need to find someone you really trust, and we know that she's thinking about Ted. To get to a place where Ted's going to meet this other girl, we really need to get Ted to the place he was at the end of this episode, where he's like, "I'm done with Robin. I do not think that Robin is the one at all." And I think we've got to that place, and that was ideally the point of this episode, not to mention just finally getting them married after the biggest foreplay of a season ever, leading up to wanting them to get married. Thank you very much. Thank you, listener. Welcome to the show. Welcome for joining in. If you have any questions or comments, please type away in the chat room. I should get it. Also, Barney breaks down the truth to her. Robin makes some reference about how legendary only means lies. That was some of our good one-liners of the night. And also Ted saying that Barney Stinson's, or Barney's initials are BS. I thought that was great. The funniest bit of the evening, as I said, breakfast in bed bit with the throwing bagel was hilarious. And then hearing Allison Hannigan talk about dumping deuces all season really cracked me up. It was fun to see that, fun to hear Allison Hannigan joke around about duty. Because in a sense, that's real relationships. We talked about what real relationships are in this episode. Real relationships are realizing that your little pretty significant other or little big handsome significant other is going to eventually be having the door open while they poop. I mean, I try to hide these things, but certain levels of comfortability. The more comfortable you feel with someone, the crazier stuff like that gets. But also the more fun you can have sexually, because you just get all boundaries are broken down and there's no sexual boundaries, so you can just do anything you want to each other. And that's where the party happens, folks. So make sure you find a significant other to have lots of fun with them. That's the only reason I like relationships, because you get to have the dirtiest sex when you're in relationships. Anyways, Robin said she wants to hear it. She tells we mentioned that she mentioned to Ted about wanting to be with him, and Ted says, "I didn't want to hear those. I'm not your future. Barney's your future." But she tugs on his heartstrings. She's really trying to push him because she needs a victory to get out of there, because she's panicking. And she says the things about shouldn't I be with someone that goes to get me a locket? Shouldn't I be with someone that goes and gets me a French horn? Shouldn't I be with someone that makes it rain for me? Shouldn't I be with someone like that? And we get a lot of interesting flashbacks in this episode as well. Flashes to Marshall and Lily's wedding. Flashes back to a lot of Robin and Ted stuff. And here's where we get Ted's line. Love doesn't make sense. It's totally nonsensical. Love is the best thing we really do. Do you really think I'd be a part of running away from my best friend's wedding? I'm not going to be a part of that. And this is another thing I really like about How I Met Your Mother. It's always self-referential. And Ted, right in that big love speech, when they know half the people watching it that are just in there for slapstick comedy, that aren't necessarily connected to season 1 and 2 gooey romance aspect of I was going to call it Sons of Anarchy, of How I Met Your Mother, can feel the emotion there. But they also throw a little nod to the comedy aspect where Ted says something like, "I know this sounds cheesy, but it's the truth." And that's what How I Met Your Mother's all about. It's having romance. It's the romantic comedy with a wink and a nudge. It's having something that's entertaining for males and females, people that are fans of comedy, people that are fans of romantic stuff, and then early in season 1, people that are fans of subtle touches of dramedy. I feel like I said, the dramedy's pretty much all but gone until they selectively want it. Similar to what happened to Scrubs. Scrubs at the beginning was very dramedy heavy, had ridiculous situations happening, but was dealing with serious matters, so they'd always have these heartstring episodes. And then in the middle, they kind of lost that and just would do those episodes as one-offs. And for the most part, the show turned into just like kind of a slapsticky thing. And then in the last season, second to last season, the Scrubs, we won't talk about the school season 9, season 8 of Scrubs, they kind of got back to what they did in season 1. How I Met Your Mother kind of tried to do the same thing here with these last 12 episodes and some parts of season 8. They tried to bring back that heartstring aspect, bring back the emotional thing. And it's really worked when it's worked. With the stuff with Ted and the mother, where the what I think is a red herring, but looks like it could be the mother finding out she's going to die, I think was very effective. Had me super emotional and had a lot of people I know that have been watching the show for years calling me up on the phone and being like, "What the hell's going on? What the hell? Are they doing this? Are they really doing this?" I'm like, "Don't do this! Save the kid! Save the cheerleader! Save the world!" So, as we're sort of wrapping up, we have a couple of interesting lines I really like. We have Marshall and Lily having kind of a fake wedding and renewing their vows of sorts, real vows. We had them also referring to the first time that they saw each other pee, or that he saw Lily pee when they were locked in the bathroom when Ted was trying to mack on a girl and they were supposed to be away for a weekend, so they ended up locking themselves in the bathroom. I think that was, I forget, Zoe. I think it was Zoe. I'm not positive, though. And we also have a line, another quick slash to kind of point out how perfect the mother is for Ted. Her making a line of, oh, when Robin bumps into her, oh, I think you're in trouble. I think you're upset. I used to be kind of little bit of a detective, a little hinkering back to the Mosby Boys references, and how this is more of a sign why those two are so perfect for each other. And again, how I can't identify enough how much I feel like they cast the absolute right person for Ted's wife, and she is perfect playing someone that you could just see that is absolutely the ideal mate for somebody like Ted, that could get his silly jokes, get the way he is. We saw that a lot in the last episode when they were walking around on their first date. Ted's just the perfect kind of guy for her, and she's the perfect kind of guy for him. It's a shame she had to lose somebody, and Ted had to go through so much heartache to lead them to each other. But it looks like, I'm not saying I'm a cheesy American audience member. I want a happy ending. So basically, and then the last thing we get in this episode is that the slap bet is over. That Barney gets slapped one more time on the altar by Marshall, and the slap bet's finally over, which he says, you know what I'm going to miss? And Marshall goes, you know what, Barney? No, you're not. You're definitely not going to miss that slap bet. And that's basically the end of the episode. The episode ends with the both of them getting married, and Ted giving all those big, deep speeches about how this weekend lasted forever, nothing's perfect, and it won't be after this, but we love and lovely love. It's kind of like the Moulin Rouge story. Love is everything, love is always love. Or am I thinking of The Wedding Planner when when that Italian guy who's addicted to macaroni and cheese starts going on the love Jennifer Lopez, love Jennifer Lopez. But what do I want for the finale? It's an hour finale. Do I want an hour of Mom and Ted? It seems like they meet each other on the train ride home from the after party. So the after party is going to kick in here. Ted's going to be sad and leave the after party, and he's going to bump into her. But what else are we going to get in this episode? We're going to get more flash forwards to the future? Obviously, I want to find out what happens to the mother, if she lives or if she dies. I personally want a happy ending, but if they can do it right, they can give us both. I don't want something stupid like this is all in a dream. Ted has some mental disease that he made this all up. He's staring at a globe, or like this was all a blink in the eye of Robin as she's flying from Canada to the United States. I don't want any of that. But if you give me a qualified ending, I think an emotional ending could be as effective as a happy ending, or a sad ending could be as effective as a happy ending. I do feel, though, with all this lead up, with 9 seasons of lead up to get to this point, I think they might shoot themselves in the foot and get on a lot of bad finale lists if they end this in a negative way. I think, again, to look to Scrubs. I think Scrubs had a perfect finale in my finale. I think even a show like Weeds had an excellent finale. And I think you need to be conscious of what shows that have done poorly in finales and what shows that have done positive. Having any shadow of a doubt is poor. Look at Lost and The Sopranos. 2 shows that more so The Sopranos than Lost, but Lost season 1, brilliant. But all The Sopranos, most of The Sopranos, 95% of it being brilliant, amazing television, gets negatively affected by the almost ending. And what we don't know or know happens. Another show I like, Oz, ended depressingly and didn't end on a good note. Romantic comedy, people want the happy ending. So maybe you could have her get sick, but in the future get better. I don't know. And I'd also like to see one shot of Bob Saget. I don't think we're going to get it, but I want to see one shot of Bob Saget. Everybody, I'd like to say thank you very much. Give me music, folks. Give me some music, Captain. Music. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this Issues program, post-episode review, recap, issues I had with an episode. This was for How I Met Your Mother, Season 9, Episode 11. You can check out all my other podcasts and stuff. I need to create a post for the How I Met Your Mother stuff, but I will. But you can check everything out, my Breaking Bad and my Walking Dead episode recaps, either here on the YouTube page or on issuesprogram.com. Also, you can call if you want to call and text me or leave me a message with what you thought about this episode or any of the stuff I do, or any suggestions. You can do that at 781-990-8509. Please leave a message or text 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You will not interrupt me at all. Or you can email me at igotissuesman@gmail.com. So contact me any ways you want on those points, and get in your questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to talk about, or comment away. Please like, rate, subscribe, do whatever you do. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, for checking out this video, and checking us out live. We see we had a couple people tuning in live. Goodness, people. Ooh, take off. Okay, I will talk to you guys next time. I will be on for post-episode recap next Sunday for the season finale of The Walking Dead. I might be back before that if any other television show inspires me a little bit, so who knows what my time will be like. Anyways, people, sorry for the extended goodbye. I can't wait to... I don't want to get off. I gotta get off. Oh, God, that sounded dirty. Everybody, and Couchmasters Issues Program, everybody, check me out. Good night. Yeah, 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 yeah!